Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our little mini series on how to take better photos and videos with your smartphone. You know, whether you're taking video or photos, one of the most important things that you can learn is how to improve the composition of your shot. You know, you've got something lined up, you want to take a photograph, but just before you tap on the photo button or press record, what is your composition? Composition, composition, composition. That's what it's all about. So, we're going to spend the next 3 lessons on simple things that you can do that will vastly improve your photos and video. Today, we're going to talk about the rule of thirds. Let's get started. Many people just seem to have a natural ability to compose the shot. I don't know if it's because they have had a whole lifetime of watching movies and looking at other people's photographs or being an art connoisseur. They just seem to have a natural ability to get really good composition before they tap that photo button. On the other hand, I have noticed that some could use a little coaching. The good news is that almost everything that we are going to talk about in this series are things that are easy to learn. And once you know them, your photos and video are going to dramatically improve. Probably one of the biggest steps that people can take towards getting better photos and videos is to learn the rule of thirds. We've already talked about this a little. Remember how when we were going through the phone settings in the camera menu, I recommended that you turn the grid on in your camera settings. If you haven't done so, I invite you to turn this on, at least while you're learning this first primary rule of composition. Don't worry, these lines that you see on the back of your screen are not going to become part of your final photo. They are there just as guides to help you know how to frame up your shot just before you take that great photo. Here's the principle. When you are setting up your shot, try and avoid the compulsion to center and shoot. A lot of people will do this. They will look for the most important thing in the photo and put that person or thing right in the center and take the shot. Now, that's okay. It's not bad. You have documented the event. You've captured the memory. There are even times when it is preferable to center and shoot. But I want to say that it's probably more the exception than the rule. If you would like to improve the look and feel of your photo or video clip, take a brief moment to frame your shot so that, it's more interesting, more compelling, more artistic, more appealing. And one way to do that is to use the rule of thirds. As you're setting up your shot, take a look at your screen. You'll notice the grid if you have it turned on, those horizontal and vertical lines. What you want to do is try and line up the most important feature of your image along one of those lines of thirds. For example, in a landscape shot, one of the most important features is the horizon. Many people will put the horizon right in the center of the shot, so that there is one half sky and one half land. But look how much more interesting your shot becomes if you put the horizon along one of these horizontal lines, giving your image either 1/3 land and 2/3 skies, or 2/3 land and 1/3 sky. This will make your shots more interesting. As you're looking at your screen, is there an interesting or outstanding feature in your landscape? Instead of putting that feature smack dab in the center of your shot, move your phone ever so slightly to put that feature along one of the vertical lines. If it is a small feature, try and compose your shot so that it is at one of those intersecting points between the horizontal and vertical lines. This will give your shot more drama, interest, and balance. Here's another example. Many tourists have come to Peggy's Cove in Nova Scotia, Canada, and have photographed this lighthouse. It is a very inspiring spot on our Earth. It's one of my favorite places to go. I am pretty sure that most of those photographs that people have taken have just centered up the lighthouse in the shot. And I am guessing that a lot of the photographers have even put the horizon right in the center of the shot. And it's okay. It's still a beautiful image. But notice how much better it can be when you move your camera ever so slightly to follow the rule of thirds. Now we have the horizon on one of the horizontal lines and the lighthouse lining up on one of the vertical lines. This changes everything. Here's what it looks like having 2/3 sky. Following the rules of thirds can make all the difference. If there are people in the shot, they become the most important feature. Try and compose your shot so that they are along one of these lines of thirds. If they have their head turned slightly and they're looking to their right, then line them up so that they are along the right line of thirds. If they are looking to their left, put them along the left vertical line of thirds. Or it could be that they are looking directly at the camera, but their body or their shoulders are turned slightly to the right, or their arms are leading to the right. Then put them along the right line of thirds. If the body position leads to the left, put them on the left. Another thing that you can look for is what is in the open space to the left or right. Is it interesting? Is it part of the story? Then try to compose your shot so that the empty space is included and helps to tell your story. This same principle applies if they are walking or running. Always give your subject room to look, room to walk, room to run. Notice what it looks like when you don't give them room. I have seen people do this intentionally for drama or effect, but it always makes me feel just a little uncomfortable, as though the image is unbalanced. For close-up shots, the eye becomes the most important feature of people. So try and get one of the eyes at the intersection of the lines. If it is a real close-up, this might mean that part of the head will be cut off. That's okay. Your image will look better composed if the eyes are coming through that top line of thirds, even if the head is slightly cut off. It'll look better than if you were to compose your shot to include the whole head, but the eyes were much further down, somewhere in the center. This looks unbalanced. Now, before we move on, I should point out that in addition to taking some of these real close-ups where a portion of the head is cut off, but the eyes are along the rule of thirds, try and remember to also get some shots where you have stepped back a little, where you include the entire head, even if you are breaking the rule of thirds. By doing this, you give your photo editor some options when they go to work with your image. With today's software, it is quite easy to isolate the subject and put them on a more natural or neutral background, or on a background that helps to better illustrate the story that goes with the image. For example, this little girl in Nepal had just experienced a devastating earthquake that had destroyed her house and village. The photographer was able to get a great shot of her giving a typical Nepali greeting that has an expression of thanks and gratefulness for what Adra had done in her village with food, water, and shelter kits. The problem is that the background was distracting. By isolating the girl, we could put her on a dark background or a background that shows the devastation of her village. The isolated image can be resized and repositioned as needed so that the final image follows the rule of thirds. By putting the isolated image on a darker background, the little girl, with her thankful hands, really stands out and has a strong impact on the viewer. And with the darker background, the art designer now has the ability to add text messages that really stand out and give an impactful thank you to the supporters of the project. If the photographer had only gotten a close-up and put the eyes along the rule of thirds so part of her head was cut off, the art designer would probably not have been able to use the image at all. So be sure to get some of both. Sometimes you want to follow the rule of thirds with the eyes in the correct position, and other times give your photo editor a break and give them something that they can work with. They can always recompose the final image so that it does follow the rule of thirds in the end. You might want to think in terms of, do you need to post this image right away on social media, or will there be time to edit the photo? At first, this may seem difficult to remember all of the rules, but once you start doing it with intention, it will soon become very natural, and you'll start doing it without even thinking about it. Before we wrap up, I need to say that in the end, the rule of thirds is just that, a rule. Rules are good to follow, but sometimes you can surprise yourself and others by shaking things up a little bit and breaking a few rules. After you have taken a bunch of shots that follow the rule of thirds nicely, go ahead and get crazy. Let the creative juices flow. Try out new things. With digital photography, the cost per shot is almost nothing. And you can always delete the ones that didn't work, right? Go ahead and put that horizon even lower than the bottom third line. It might end up being the shot that the photo editor picks for the cover of the magazine because it's so unique, so different, so artistic. The important thing is that you have thought about your composition before you took the shot. You have been intentional. You have done more than just show up and document the event or story. You have documented the story with creativity, purpose, and thought. I think the most important tip that I could give you as we wrap up this video is before you take a shot, look at the screen. Does it look good? Don't be so anxious to get the shot and be done and move on. Look at the screen. Does it look good? Is it pleasing? Is this a shot that I would want to hang on my wall? Or send in to my boss, And if it isn't, take a moment, ask yourself, what could I do to make this shot look better? And it could be it's just a matter of slightly turning your camera to the left, slightly turning to the right, tilting up a little bit, tilting down, moving back a little bit, moving your subject just a little bit, turn them. And then remember the rule of thirds, line things up, and then take the photo. Whether you realize it or not, I believe that you have a good eye for symmetry, for artistic composition. You have a lifetime of experience of looking at photographs, movies, and art. As you're looking through your screen, at what point does your shot turn from a boring shot into art? And when it does, you're ready to shoot. Well, that does it for this video. I hope that you were able to get a good feel for the rule of thirds, and that the next time that you go out to take photographs, that you'll be able to implement what you have learned here today. And please join us next time. We're going to talk about how to improve your video, how to improve your photographs by adding a sense of depth. We'll see you then. Have a great day wherever you are in the world. So long for now.